It was in the heart of the summer when we were driving in the outskirts of Athens with Marcia. Driving around in Greece is tricky. You are either prepared and keep your eyes on the road, or you are not, and then you just see them. They're everywhere. Your heart tells you to rescue this one, or this one, or this one, and then after a while you realize that it's just impossible. The strays are just too many. More than you can imagine. I am used to that. I am used to knowing that the ones we rescue are the few lucky ones. But Marcia is from the Netherlands and she's not used to seeing strays on the road. So as he was walking on the side road, she noticed him, and I didn't. She screamed for me to stop the car, and I did. She rushed out, and as she was moving towards him, he kept walking away. Because after having spent so much time on the streets, you learn that the smart thing to do is walk away from people. Most people, anyway. He was so small. A small, lonely black spot in a world so big, so hectic, so self-absorbed. It took a few minutes for him to trust and let go. As Marcia picked him up and started walking to the car, she began to cry, and the tears didn't stop until hours later. There's nothing like the feeling of having just rescued someone, of holding him in your arms and knowing that from now on he will be safe. Rescue is an instant promise, a promise to ourselves, first of all, and a promise to the animal. The sun was blinding that day. It was shining so bright that I only realized I was filming in black and white when we got into the car. So I switched to color. Funny how something so random can make you think in metaphors. It was as if this tiny dog's life switched right before my eyes at the moment of his rescue, from colorless to colorful, to hopeful, to real. There is so much hope at the moment of the rescue. And this little dog stayed in Marcia's arms while she was holding him in the car and carrying him to the shelter as if he knew her, as if he could see the world around him transform to a world of colors. She named him Basu after her first dog, and he was going to do his treatment and be adopted to a wonderful family very soon. At least that's what we thought. Basu adjusted to his new life almost immediately. He always accepted a hug, but he wasn't the toy dog that his size suggested. He made it very clear from the beginning that he was not the dog to be carried around like a doll and to be handled with anything other than respect. Unless you treated him as a grown person, Basu would bite, and actually it served us right. There is this misconception that small-sized dogs can be treated as stuffed toys, and Basu was a very good spokesperson of how wrong this is. You don't lift me and make me a lapdog unless I want to get on your lap on my own. That's what his attitude said, and we respected that. We gave him time and respect, and he gave us knowledge about dogs. From every dog you learned something, and from Basu I learned how to respect bodily autonomy. He was our trainer's best student. He learned commands, he learned how to open drawers and how to communicate. He was so hungry for knowledge. We thought his new achievements would find him home, but we were wrong. We had forgotten maybe that he was black and that he was sick and that he was not young. Basu stayed at the shelter for nearly 3 years. That is a long time for a dog, a very long time. His hair grew longer and softer. The smile on his face grew bigger and brighter. He learned to trust more as we learned to respect his limits more. Basu became a happy, social dog, and he did everything he could to let us know that despite his size, he is very much a dog in all glory. Marcia came to visit him again and again. She never forgot the promise she had given him, and neither did any of us, but despite our efforts, the months turned into years and Basu was stuck in the shelter. He had a better life than the one on the streets, but when you rescue, you don't promise better, you promise the best. And the fact is that a life in a shelter remains a life in black and white. Years after his rescue, when we thought we had lost all hope, Basu got adopted. He left the shelter as a social, happy dog, and within a few weeks he was returned because he would growl and bite. Years of hard work and training seemed wasted because despite all the advice they were given, the family saw a small, fluffy toy dog that would accept being handled like one, and Basu disagreed. And he was right. You know, dogs tell you what they like, what they don't like, what they need, and what they've had enough of. All you have to do is listen. They don't talk with words, they talk with their bodies. And growling is the last resort after you have failed to interpret all the signs. The signs of their not wagging tails, of their laid-back ears, of their hesitation to make eye contact, and of the stiffness of their entire bodies. Thankfully, Basu was lucky and he was spared the confusion of returning to the shelter. Marcia had made a promise to him years ago and she kept it. You know, a failed adoption hurts. It hurts a lot. But what you gain is even more knowledge of the dog, of his needs, of his character. You gain more knowledge of what the perfect family would be for this dog, and Basu's perfect family was in the Netherlands. Basu today, apart from being fluffier than he ever was, he never leaves his dad's side. And whether he's by his side or on his lap or on the chair, there is an air of respect around his little fluffy body, if you know what I mean. You see, it's not that Basu is not a lapdog. He can be. And then he just won't be. All Basu wanted was respect, and he never compromised, even if that meant losing what appeared to be a good relationship. And if you do not compromise, there are only two options in life. You may be unlucky and end up alone, or you may be lucky and end up where you are understood, accepted, and loved for who you are, not for who they want you to be.
Goed zo. Oh, ga je weg? Ja, dan moet je hem wel afgeven, hè? Dan kunnen we hem...
Hello, I am Valia. If you like the videos, please subscribe, and if you can, join me on Patreon and help create more compassionate people. Para la versión del canal en castellano, busquen el enlace abajo.